All right. Well, after a bit of a hiatus, I guess, not a very long one. Oh yeah, apologize for the rain in the background. It is raining, so if you hear that, sorry. But yeah, I ended up having it's called a testicular torsion. Fun business. Very painful, and made me feel sick at the same time and lightheaded. So it's also potentially dangerous. Luckily, I had I guess it was intermittent, so it basically twisted itself up and then untwisted itself for like a day or so. Luckily, it didn't cause any major problems, and I don't know, I did some stuff on my own necessarily to try to alleviate the pain, I guess, but I couldn't take any painkillers, obviously, but just try to increase the blood flow to that area, which sucked. So, yeah, that was not a fun experience. Missed 2 days of work on that, so finally fully recovered from that ordeal. But yeah, and it's just one of the great joys of life, people. So, boys, watch your boys. Um, Anyways, I'll get to the topic at hand. Willful ignorance is a theme I'm sort of noticing from a lot of the people who have a beef with antinatalism. Um, Not only do they like to attack the people who present the arguments, but they also just like to ignore what they have to say and misrepresent it outright, which is ridiculous, honestly, and it's just dishonest. I think the biggest problem a lot of people have with antinatalism is the fact that they have a problem with antinatalism. They just don't like it. They don't like the idea, even though I can't think of a single thing that would come to refute it. I mean, you even got religious leaders talking about it, people that they claim to worship, as I've said before, like Jesus and Buddha in particular, and I know more about Jesus than Buddha, but just from what some of Jesus said, it's like this dude wasn't exactly thrilled with the whole situation. And Buddha wasn't either. In fact, I think I saw something else from Buddha, something to the effect of he was yelling at one of his disciples saying, you would have been better off sticking your penis into the head of a viper or something to that effect than in a woman's vagina. I'm like, damn. Yeah, that's because the disciple ended up having a kid and he went to Buddha with it. And yeah, Buddha was such a life lover. Let me tell you, on top of the whole life is suffering thing. Um, Jesus said similar things, and a lot of other people, like Jeremiah, I can think of that. It's like, cursed be the day my mother bore me, or one of my favorites, Jeremiah 20:18, why did I leave the womb to see toil and sorrow, and in my days in shame? Then you got, of course, a preacher in Ecclesiastes, like Ecclesiastes 7:1. I know everyone knows the beginning of chapter 4, but chapter 7, beginning of that, is one of my favorites. It's like, um, a great name is like a fine fragrance, and the day of your death is to be celebrated over the day of your birth. Like, these aren't exactly, happy-go-lucky passages, and people just outright ignore them so they can make sure their penis or vagina is satisfied, and so they can have a sense of, quote, responsibility and validation from society. Oh, look at me, I produced a kid. And that sort of fun stuff. I'm an adult now. And I think out of all of them that I've responded to recently, Jordan Peterson has got to be among the worst. Like, I didn't really know a whole lot about him beforehand. I didn't really listen to any of his talks or anything like that. But, so I really didn't have any sort of opinion. I wouldn't say it was like good or bad. It was just kind of like, it's Jordan Peterson, whatever. But now I have a very negative opinion of him, based on what I've seen of him. And, yeah, he fully admits, too. He's like, yeah, life is suffering and pain, and it's sort of an imposition. You're going to take your licks, but, man, you just got to keep on going and make sure someone else does, too. Make sure you bring someone here to, have a burden put upon them. And one of the videos is, like, him talking about how it's a noble thing for women to have their sons, like, brutally murdered or some shit, like, put on a cross, which is what we all sort of experience anyways. It's not like Mary got away scot-free. So you just got to ask yourself, sacrificed for what end? for no reason, just so they could suffer and die, basically, because they were born. A situation they didn't put themselves in. A couple other people decided that was a good idea for them. And, I could kind of give a free pass to some of the other people a little bit. I mean, I'm not going to just fully dismiss them, but, I've responded to a video by a mom, and I've just deleted that because it was just pointless. And, I think I did a couple more AVC responses I just didn't do, and Angry Vegan Cyclist is just an idiot. There's a big difference between being an idiot and being a fucking, just willfully ignorant. Just trying to pretend like, oh, nothing's wrong here. Oh, well, there is, but, you should just go ahead and do the wrong thing anyways, because, responsibility. Like Jordan Peterson, I'm tempted to say that dude is kind of evil. Now I know he has at least a daughter. I don't know if he has any other kids, but I know his daughter's all about that whole meat eating thing or whatever. I don't know much about her, but I'm starting to think that he may have came to these realizations after he had his daughter and didn't want to be seen as being a jackass for seeing this and and then he's just like, oh shit, I'm Jordan Peterson, I can't be wrong, so I just got to justify it somehow and just encourage everybody else to do the wrong thing as well. Which is another scary thing about someone like him is he's got a large following and there's tons of, I guess, mostly men, young men, hanging on his every word. Like, oh yeah, I gotta have kids and do all this sort of stuff. Gotta clean my room and blah blah blah. Like that's gonna fucking fix your problems. It's not. It's just gonna exacerbate them. And you don't have to look far on this planet to find, trouble or misery. Honestly, there's really no. And yeah, the fact that he pretends like we just don't have enough of that in the world, that's why, a lot of the things are going on now. We're just getting weak and soft and everything. It's like, no, we've got as much trouble as there's ever been. It's just, I guess, easier to get the basics. And we got internet to sort of distract ourselves more. But other than that, like, I don't see all the problems, like, a lot of the similar problems from the 1800s are still here and even further back, like suffering and death, the main ones. Mainly the process of dying. I wouldn't say death is necessarily the problem, but the process of dying, which entails suffering, yeah, those haven't really changed much, if at all. I mean, sure, we got painkillers and stuff, but I think Amendum said it best. You just, die to die again later or something to that effect. Like you die multiple times before you actually die. And I find that to be true here, and it also brings me back to another quote from, I think it was Seneca the Younger, who said, the fortunate are the least fortunate of all. And if you want to get into some of the Stoics, I guess. But yeah, I'd have to kind of agree with that. Because us here in our so-called coddled first world societies and stuff, we get the joy of dying not just once, but multiple times. And the longer you're here, the more suffering you're going to endure. Either you're going to endure it, or you're going to see someone else endure it, which basically might as well be you, I guess, in a sense. But you're going to watch a lot of your loved ones pass on. Like, I'm old enough to have seen a lot of that happen. I've had some friends that were, murdered and stuff at a young age. And, stuff to that effect. Or I also had a friend who has cancer, had really bad cancer, and he keeps bouncing back between hanging on a thread to, oh, it's in never mind, it's not remission, it's coming back again, that kind of stuff. So I don't think he's going to be living a very long life if he does actually recover. Those kind of drugs take a toll on you and that kind of stuff. And to see all that and then to say, yeah, you know what, I think my kid would like that kind of treatment. I mean, if they don't get the bad draw, they don't draw the short straw in life. I mean, I guess they get to watch everyone else that they care about, draw the short straws for them and see how much they enjoy that. It's just ridiculous. And the fact that these people just don't want to see it. And a lot of the people that we could be reaching out to are the ones who are in that age where they don't really care. They just want to get action, either male or female. They just want to get laid. And they're not always thinking about the consequences because, having sex without a condom or whatever is, better than, using all the protection needed to prevent pregnancy. So, yeah, I mean, I just don't see the train stopping anytime soon, and it's really hard to try to talk to people about this because they're going to look at you like you're some sort of sad sack, like I mentioned before, even though they're in the same situation you're in. They just don't want to admit it. They don't want to see it. They think that it's outside of them. They're living in their imagination, the fairy tale that was spun to them by either their parents, society, the schools, whatever, you name it. Or just, through trauma, I guess, if you want to look at like Ernst Becker, where younger kids just sort of retreat to their own imaginations. And you can see that in a lot of people. So, yeah, it's a really grim situation to be in because you're actually trying to, you're trying to help people by not having them experience this. And I know I've heard other people say things to the effect of, oh, life isn't a problem to be solved. I think it was Frank Herbert from Dune. He's like, life isn't a problem to be solved. It's a mystery to be experienced. Well, yeah, that may be true, but at the same time, a lot of people's lives are fraught with problems. Problems as far as the human being that you are is concerned. So, whatever this whole life thing is, we only get to experience a tiny part of it, and our tiny part sucks. Like, you could just outright see it. So, yeah, I'm not saying I have all the answers, but I have enough to know better than to put someone else through this, because the way our system works, where you're just, a cog in a machine, basically, and even AVC advocated for that in one of his videos, like, oh yeah, we just need to have more bricks for the pyramid, or more cogs for the machine, so we can generate heroes who are just going to get sucked back in and become another cog, basically, at the end of the day, and forgotten about. Yeah, have your kid be a cog for some hero, quote, hero, or some great, quote, man, or something. Some guy who totally didn't, lie and cheat his way to the top. So, or just happened to be born with that privilege. He fell out of the right vagina. Yeah, have your kid be one of those. And then you just take a step back even further, and then you look at how life operates, where it's just creatures violently killing and ripping each other apart, just to, get what they need. Their primal desire to, continue to survive is just overriding any sort of compassion or sympathy or empathy they may have for their fellow, creatures. And they'll just go along and do it anyways because they're sort of driven to. And we do the same thing. I'm not exempt in us. I think antinatalists may be a little bit more compassionate than most, but that doesn't say much. The bar isn't exactly raised super high here. And yeah, you just see, like, when you really step back, you just see an eternal war zone on top of a graveyard. Like, it just never ends. And people just keep putting more and more people into it, and we also keep breeding more and more animals to keep feeding the more and more people that keep coming in. And it's just a vicious, brutal cycle. So, to get people to see that, I haven't found a way to do it because it's an unpalatable truth, really. The situation we're in. It's a very gnarly situation to be in. And especially people who've had kids, good luck. I know there's some anti-natalist parents out there who've done a little bit of reflection and all that sort of stuff and come to realize, yeah, I made a mistake. And yeah, good for them. Hopefully they can tell their kids to not repeat the same mistakes they've made. But, yeah, it's just, I don't know. I can kind of see why people just want to remain ignorant of it, but at the same time, to do so is just going to cause a lot more pain and suffering and problems for us. It's an uncomfortable truth. It's a very, I would almost say in some ways, kind of dangerous to us because it pretty much signals the death knell for not only our species, but probably for this planet if we continue down this track. And a lot of people are just so in love with this place for some fucking reason I don't understand. I don't see it really. I mean, I've had good moments, sure, but not enough to justify, somebody having cancer and suffering and dying, or animals getting brutally slaughtered out there, and as well as insects, plants, all that shit. Everything that's alive gets sort of cannibalized, so by something bigger and stronger than it. So, yeah. I mean, if you got a good way to bring that to people, let me know. Or go out there and do it yourself. I mean, making a YouTube channel wasn't that hard. I did it. And, Yeah, I guess that's a sidebar. Yeah, I did get a mic for my computer, and I'm trying to try a new setup. I mean, I'm still doing this video on a tablet because I don't really need that, but I'm going to see how that works out. That's part of the reason why I was a little bit out of commission, because I was trying some new things until, I had a medical emergency, so I'll see how that goes. I might fiddle with it a bit more tomorrow after work. But, anywho, I think I've said what I wanted to say. So, thank you for listening, and have a good one.